I was very blessed, Keith, last year in July when I went to Poland for the World Youth Day to have attended 2 of Jason's talk. And what blew me away was not just his in-depth knowledge, but really his ability to connect with us young people, and just an amazing and incredible speaker that he is. So tonight, after flying more than 24 hours from Arizona all the way here, we can finally say, live in Singapore, we have Jason Evert.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. How you guys doing tonight? Good? Oh, it's a blessing to be with you tonight. Let's begin our time together in prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Jesus, tonight we pray for the gift of purity so we can be free to love. And we entrust our time together to Our Lady as we pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Saint Joseph, pray for us in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. To get started, I need a guy volunteer from the audience. I need a good, brave guy. So who's it going to be? Let's see. That'll work. Come on. No, you're on the edge. Yeah, come on down. Give him a hand. Come on up. Let's see. Who's there? Who is it? No? Okay. They're not going. Okay. Oh, that'll work. Come on up. Give him a hand. Come on down. Yeah. You got volunteered by your friends. Now, come on up. Now, what's your name? Nicholas. Good to meet you, Nicholas. Now, Nicholas, do you know what my talk is about tonight?
Chastity.
Yes, it's a chastity talk. Now, since it's a chastity talk, we have to cover certain issues, like how far is too far to go with a girl on a date, and stuff like that. So what Nicholas and I are going to do for you, he and I are actually going to show you guys how far is too far to go on a date, okay? So he's excited. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to be the guy, Nicholas is going to be the girl, okay? Now, Nicholas is not a very pretty girl, but that's, what, you want to be a pretty girl? Okay, let's get you prettied up a little bit. Let's see, we can start with that. Why don't you put that on, there you go. Yeah, you'll be pretty. Yeah, it's a little nappy. Yeah, the tag goes in the back, so yeah, right there, yeah. So you'll be pretty frightening, so. Oh yeah, I can see her roots, but I've never dated a Nicholas before. We give you a name change. You could be Nikki, you could be Elsa, Nicole, okay, Nicole. So now, Nicole and I, we decided to go for a date, right? So we go, what's that hotel down in Singapore, the big swimming pool on top of the hotels? What is it called? Marina Bay. Okay, so we go to the top of that big old swimming pool, and we're looking out over the city, and and I started thinking, well, how far do you think I can get my beloved Nicole here, to the edge of that swimming pool without actually throwing him off the swimming pool? And him, her, whatever. But there's really only one way to find how far we can go to the edge, so I've got to pick you up into my arms, all right? Okay, so you hold on to your left hand. Oh! Let's see. Now, how far can we get to the edge? Let's find out. Let's see. Can we go further? What do you think?
Okay.
Okay, good. Let's see. Now can we go further?
No.
Okay. Should I drop him? Yes? Okay, no, won't drop you. Take a seat. Give him a hand, Nicholas. Good job, Nicholas. Thank you very much. Good sport. What's the point of that whole dumb thing? The point of that is this. No guy is going to go on a date with a girl thinking, how far can I go before I kill her? You don't ask the question. But when I was in high school and college, this is the question we had about girls. How far can you go with a girl? Can we do this with her? Can we do that with her? And we had to hear like these sex talks where someone would get up there and they'd be like, sex is bad, sex is dirty, you're gonna die. And it's like, whoa. It was all about guilt, all about fear. All they try to do is scare you. And it's useless. That doesn't work. And we'd walk out of these talks and it'd be like, so what? all God cares is making sure we don't go too far with girls. But to prove to you God's got a bigger plan, I met this guy once named Kevin. He fell in love with a girl. They decided to get married. They go to church. They're getting ready for the wedding. The priest is going through their paperwork. He said, hey, look at that. You guys got baptized in the same church when you were babies. I'm like, oh, that's cool. We didn't know that. He looked closer. He said, yeah, you guys got baptized on the same day in the same church as babies. And they went to their parents' photo album, sure enough found a picture of the two babies getting baptized together years before they'd ever meet again. So you never know what God's up to. You might be sitting right next to your future spouse right now, huh? Yeah, sorry about that, yeah. Sister's taken. Not one spouse per person. Now I didn't think God had this big plan for my love life. And so the relationships I got in reflected that. The relationships I got in tended to be very physical very fast. I remember in high school, I hooked up with this girl and we're doing stuff and came to the point and I had to ask myself, well, should I give this girl my virginity? And I thought, well, I've already known her. I've already known her for 3 days and I could hear that voice in me that said, Jason, this gift is not for her, it's for me, please wait for me. And we cooled things down, I was able to hold on to my virginity. And for people of virgins, I say good for them. I've got right here what's considered to be the most comprehensive sex research ever done. It's about 700 pages. And what they found on page 503 is this. People who get married as virgins have a divorce rate that's about 70% lower than those who won't wait for marriage. Now, some people think, well, that's great, but Jason, I'm not a virgin, or I had my virginity taken from me. Does that mean I'll have a messed up marriage? If you're like me, you're so sick of all the divorce going on, nobody wants to get divorced, so how do you prevent it? All I'll suggest is one idea. If you hope to get married, that means you hope to promise somebody, I am gonna love you and honor you all of the days of my life. Okay? Today is a day of your life. Are you willing to love and honor this person before you meet them? And what I mean is this. The biggest question we get is how far can you go? Can you do this with a girl? Can you do that with a boy? Easy way to know where to draw the line. We were at junior high. It means the students are about 12, 13 years old. After the talk, 3 girls came up to me. They said, Jason, is it okay for us to hook up and make out with different boys at the party? I'm like, okay, they're 12. I said, okay. I said, let's say the boy you're gonna marry one day doesn't go to that party. The boy you're gonna marry one day goes down the street to that other school, and right now, he's with an 8th grade cheerleader who wants to hook up and make out with him. I go, what do you think about that other girl who's with your future husband right now? And she was like, I'd kick her butt. And I was like, whoa, easy, tiger. Then we went to a high school, all boys high school, 800 boys. After the talk, guy raised his hand. He said, okay, Jason, your talk was fun, but can we get specific? I said, sure. He said, I want to know exactly how far I can go with my girlfriend. I said, that's a fair question. What do you want to do with her? And he was like, I was like, oh, gross. I said, okay, we're not in 3rd grade. We can mature specific. What do you want to do? He's like, cool. Can we do this and this and this? And he went through a whole list of sexual things. I said, that's charming. Slow down. Pick one. And he's thinking about it. I said, look, I'm going to have you answer your own question. Do you want to get married one day? He said, yeah, I'll get married. I said, now, if you're going to get married, that means your future wife, she's out there somewhere right now, isn't she? For the first time ever, he thought about his future bride. And he said, yeah, she is out there. Cool. I go, but let's say she doesn't live here in Chicago. Let's say she's wrong from California. School's getting out right now. She's coming home from class with her boyfriend, who's a guy that you're never going to meet. He's got his arm around your future wife. And he's saying, baby girl, I love you so much. Your eyes are so beautiful. You're amazing just the way you are. She's like, oh, you're so sweet. And he walks her home, and he sits her on his couch. He's like, hey, baby girl, you feeling fine? Because you looking fine. She's like, stop. And I said this guy, I'm like, dude, you know what's going on in that couch, don't you? And he's like, yeah. I said, that guy is trying to trick your future wife into doing that sexual thing with him, trying to make her think that if she does that with him, he'll like her more when he's just using her more. I go, does that bug you? And he's like, ooh, I don't know. I'm like, you don't know? That guy doing that with your future wife doesn't bother you. He was like, well, the guy next to him in class was like, oh, I'd be ticked off. And he smacked him in the head. I broke him up. I said, look, if you don't want somebody else doing that with the person you're gonna marry one day, set the same standards for yourself. And this is not some condemnation of any of us. It's a calling to real love. I'm not gonna stand in front of you guys in here and say, you have to be like me. Because it's a joke. You're a guy, I'm a guy, we're the same. Every guy in here has temptations to lust, but then there's a deeper desire to really love. And there's always a battle going on. What I want you girls to realize is the guys you're sitting next to every day in school, all of us have been lied to about what it means to be a man. We're supposed to learn about manhood from our dads. But girls, think about it. Some of us haven't even seen our dads since we were 3. Even if you have a great dad, we still get lied to about manhood everywhere else. Being told if you want to be a man today, you got to get some of the girls, because if you get some of the ladies, you're the man. Everything's about sex. It's on TV. I'm watching a basketball game. This car commercial came on. There's this lady sitting in her car, and she's trying to be sexy. And she's like, the real question is, when you turn your car on, does it return the favor? I'm like, what? I'm like, lady, I drive a pickup truck. You know, if I turned on my truck and it returned the favor, I would freak out. I'm like, stop it, that's awkward. But like, everything today is sex this, sex that. And the basic message is simple. It's, come on, man, you're young, you're gonna do it anyway. You're still a virgin, something's wrong with you. Oh, you're not a virgin, oh, it's too late for you. It's all you ever hear, and it just gets old. Because look, we want love, but sometimes we don't know how to find it. But God offers it. In the Bible, there's one passage a guy has to know to love women. It's out of Ephesians 5, where St. Paul actually says to the guys, husbands, love your wife like Christ loved the church, giving himself up for her so she'd be holy. To do this, the Gospel of Luke said Jesus was praying in the agony in the garden. It said his sweat became like drops of blood and fell on the ground. I know some of you will become doctors. You'll learn about this. It's called hematidrosis, which means under extreme stress, capillaries in your skin can rise up, come in contact with sweat glands that burst, and you bleed from the pores of your skin. Your body becomes an enormous bruise. And then they'd scourge him on this. Scourging means they strip you naked, they wrap your arms around a pillar so the back's exposed, and they come up to him with whips. At the end of the whips are fishing hooks, fishing weights, pieces of glass and metal. They would torture him till he's almost dead, put the crown of thorns on his head, and he carries the cross for about 600 yards, and then they strip him naked, piercing him probably through the wrists, and for hours he hangs there to give himself up for his bride, the church, us. And then St. Paul says, you guys, you want to get married? Well, you better be ready to love a woman just like that. And guys hear this, it's like, crucify myself for some girl? How do you do that? It begins by not sacrificing girls for the sake of ourselves. Because that's what I picked up in high school, because the influence for me back then of the pornography. Now, the thing is, when teenage girls find out how many guys look at porn, and it's not that only guys look at porn, but when girls find out how many guys do, girls feel sorry for us. Because pornography for a guy is the perfect way for a guy to shoot his future marriage in the head. Teaching me, you girls are things to be used. And when I get bored with you, I'll go to the next fantasy. High school, we'd laugh it off. Oh, I'm not getting anyone pregnant. We're just appreciating women, and we'd laugh it off. Porn was everywhere. Your buddies had it, your friends had it. First porn I ever saw, I was like 7 or 8 years old. I mean, we're riding our bikes in the neighborhood. Found this dirty magazine in the street. I'm like, what's that? I'm like, nice to meet you. And I'm like, what do we do with it? My friend said, let's keep it. I'm like, well, yeah, where do we put it? He said, let's put it at your house. I'm like, oh, good idea. So ride the bikes to my house, and we get there, and I'm like, I'm not putting it inside. I'm not getting busted. I had never seen porn before, but I knew something was wrong. So I said, I know what to do. So we ripped out all our favorite pictures, crumpled them up into little balls, and then shoved them into bushes in front of the house. We'd come outside and look at them when we wanted. Now, the problem is my dad trimmed the hedges Saturday afternoon, found porn growing on the plants out front, so I got busted by the porn plant. But, we got back into it, and we would just laugh it off. And I know right now, there's guys in the audience, and in your mind, you're thinking, whatever, I got some stuff on my phone. I'm not addicted, no one's getting hurt. And when a guy desperately tries convincing himself porn is not a problem, you know what happens? The poor guy gets emasculated. Emasculation means when a young man is robbed of the ability to be masculine. You look at a crucifix, you have masculinity. The lover who empties himself for the beloved. Porn flips it backwards. So guys learn to empty ladies for the sake of ourselves. We miss the point why God made us men. And we didn't even know what we were looking at in the porn. Look, when you're looking at porn, you're not looking at a naked body. You're looking at somebody's daughter who was probably sexually abused as a little girl. But we just laugh it all off, call ourselves gentlemen for enjoying this. Some of the girls in porn aren't even alive. Porn stars have a huge mortality rate. Death by drug overdose, murder, suicide, AIDS. You could be lusting after a woman who's in her grave right now. Some of the girls in porn aren't even human beings. Some porn magazines have now paid computer companies more than $20,000 a pop to generate fake women. Not airbrushed. No, she's fake. Legs, eyes, everything on the woman created with the computer. She doesn't exist. They've used fake girls for their cover models. But scientists have discovered that if a guy gets hooked on internet porn and swimsuit magazines, you will train your brain to expect all women to live up to this fantasy of a disposable supermodel. And where does it leave your bride? My friend in college had all the porn, and he figured, I'll throw it away before I get married. I went to his wedding. It was a beautiful wedding, and he was divorced in 3 months. All he did was take all the lust he had for porn, look at his bride that way, and the marriage was over as soon as it started. One high school girl said to me, she said, Jason, I found out my dad looks at porn. She said, I used to look up to him. Now I can't even look at him. I thought he was a better man than that. Every guy in here knows that's not the father I'm gonna be. That's not the husband I'm gonna be. That's why if you can trash the porn tonight, you're being faithful to your bride before you ever lay eyes upon her. Because it's not about killing your sexual desires, it's about perfecting your sexual desire. And what does that look like? You know, the Catholic Church has a saint who spent all his money on prostitutes. The guy's name was Saint Vitalis of Gaza. He lived in Africa. He'd work all day under the hot sun and take all the money he earned, and every night he'd bring it to a different prostitute. So she would spend the whole night with him and no other man. But instead of using these girls, he brought them the gospel, prayed with them, prayed for them, told them they could start over, converted a great number of prostitutes who became holy wives and mothers. One morning, he's walking out of a house of prostitution, and a man saw him, recognized him as a Christian, was so sick of Christian hypocrites, hit the guy in the head with something and killed him. And the prostitutes came out and they said, well, you don't understand what he was doing, but it was too late and he was dead. And historians say when he was being buried, all these former prostitutes came out of hiding, processing with candles and lanterns to his gravesite to honor the man who saw their dignity when they had totally forgotten it. Now, I'm not recommending you try that as a method of evangelization. I mean, don't be going to your youth minister, hey, can we raise some money, get a prostitute for the youth group? Service hours, okay. It's a bad idea. But the point is the redemption of the human heart is possible. And what's at stake is our ability to love. And I don't think you guys are the problem, don't get me wrong. I think teenage boys are the solution to the problem. And I have research to back me up. You ever wonder how many high school students having sex? Seems like everybody's doing it. Well, here's the numbers, at least in the United States of America. Sexual activity amongst American high school students in the last 25 years has been constantly going down. The majority of American high school students are virgins. This came out 15 years of research. High school boys' sexual activity is now going down twice as fast as the girls. And people hear that and they're like, really? I thought I was the only virgin in America. Like, there's another one here? No kidding. The change is shifting. But you don't hear about this because nobody talks about it. One guy came up to me. He's like, can we talk? I said, well, yeah, what's going on? He's like, can we talk over there? I said, sure, we over here. He goes, can we go in the corner? And I'm like, all right. We're in this dark little corner. I said, what's going on with you? He said, I'm a virgin. I'm like, I thought you were going to tell me you had leprosy. I mean, this is a good thing. More people choosing it, people starting over. In fact, they found 2 out of 3 high school students who have had sex privately admit they wish they waited longer. There's a change going on. It's happened with the girls. This came out a while ago, Vogue magazine. It's a fashion magazine. And it says on the cover, naughty versus nice, why showing skin is no longer in. It's this big fashion article showing how modesty is making a comeback. And I'll admit, as a guy, I don't know the pressure you girls are under to look and eat and dress a certain way. My wife was at a toy store. She saw a Barbie doll they came out with. She said, oh, I have to get that and show Jason. So she bought me a Barbie doll, okay? And it's for work. And this is what they're giving the girls to play with now. Look at this thing. She's got fishnet stockings, short skirt, strapless top. I don't even know what girls call these tops. What is it, like a napkin top for you or something? And, you know, and people complained about it. Oh, Barbie's too skinny. That's not realistic. So what did the toy company do? Yeah, they made her skinnier. So this is what they're giving the girls to play with now. Look at this thing. I mean, this is wrong, okay? Like, look, I'm not some dietitian, but I know something's missing from your diet if your arms come off like that, okay? You know, and girls, I mean, You've been told since you've been in diapers, behold womanhood. You know, you can be a woman too, okay? So for dinner tonight, you can have a grain of rice. For dessert, have an ice cube. That's fair. Because once you look like this, girls, oh, you're gonna find love. And you know it's fake, you understand it's a joke, but what you don't understand, it's all fake. There's this supermodel in America named Cindy Crawford. Revlon makeup thought she was too fat for them, so with computers, they made her arms skinny in their advertisements. Real womanhood isn't shown to you. What's shown to you are beer commercials telling you your body, it's disgusting. Hate your body, hate yourself. And a girl's desire just to look pretty. You look at some magazine and you think, well, if I look like her, I'm sure I'd be loved too. And it sounds like it makes sense, but what happens is this. Girls, look, we love you, but we're different than you when it comes to sexuality. We get seduced differently. A lot of girls today are getting seduced through their ears, like a boy gets seduced through his eyes. Girls often get seduced by what they hear a boy telling them. Oh, baby, I've never felt this way about a girl before. Oh, really? I mean, look at the music they make for girls, like Justin Bieber and Ed Sheeran and all the 12-year-old girls go to the concert and they squeal and pass out. But you ever notice, like, historically, there have always been these boy bands for the girls. Have you ever noticed there's no girl bands for the guys? You don't have a bunch of guys go to the concert together. Oh, it's Hannah Montana, I'm gonna die. It doesn't happen. We don't get seduced through the ears. We get seduced through the eyes. Perfect example. I'm eating dinner at a restaurant in Chicago. I had to go to the men's toilet. As soon as I walk in, there's this massive photograph of 5 women's sexy legs. First thing I thought was, yeah, I wonder if I go in the girls' bathroom, kind of peeking in the ladies' toilet, is there gonna be like a massive photo of 5 men's bare legs in the men's bathroom? Probably not. In fact, I think just for fun, we should get some of the guys together after the talk today. Let's get a big photo of your legs. Let's stick it in the girls' bathroom back there. What would happen when the girls walk in? They'd be like, ah! You know, they'd vomit. But why? I mean, aren't the boys cute? Well, they are, but it's different. If a girl doesn't understand these differences, watch what happens. She starts hiking up her skirt, wearing a little belly button. She thinks her outfit is cute. He's not looking at your outfit. If it's her sexual value that brings the guy to the girl, what do you think he wants to get to know about her? Her intelligence or personality? He wants to get to know the body. If she gives him access to her body, thinking, well, this will make him like me more. Usually what happens is a guy gets bored because he loses respect and he moves on. And she's left there thinking, well, maybe if I was skinnier, he would have liked me more. Maybe if I just did more with him sexually, he would have stayed longer. And guys get used too. Pressure goes both ways. And with modesty, I'm not saying girls, I want you to show up at your big dance dressed up in some big moo-moo, and your boyfriend sees like, hey, modesty. You look ravishing in your potato sack tonight, stay home. No. It isn't about looking dumpy. It just means you look classy. Take the beauty of being a woman, use it. Teach boys about your dignity. Because look, I didn't know how to treat a girl till I dated one in college who dressed modestly. And it was captivating. You could take her seriously as a woman. She wasn't trying to make boys stare at her body parts. She had a good figure. She could have dressed like, boys, check this out. Like the way she dressed is like she's saying, yeah, boys, frankly, I'm worth waiting to see. And you will not lift the veil over this body until you lift the veil over my face. And I'm telling you, respecting that girl was automatic. And look, a girl deserves respect no matter what she chooses to wear, but you girls have this God-given power to turn the guy's head, and you often forget you actually have the power to change his heart. I saw it one couple, beautiful newlywed couple, deeply in love, and when they first met, the girl was all big into chastity. The guy was the total opposite, Mr. Pimp Daddy, sleeping around, looking at porn, and when they first met, he was infatuated with her. He had never met a woman like this, of such virtue and character and class, and he starts hitting on her, and she thinks it's a joke, because she knows who he is. She's like, oh, now you want to date a girl like me? And he's like, yeah, why not? She said, 3 things need to happen first. He said, okay, what is it? She said, step number 1, you need to ask my father permission to court me. He's like, that's weird, but I'll do it. Okay, what's number 2? She said, number 2, I want you to read this 500-page book on chastity and the theology of the body. 10 days he read the whole thing. He said, number 2, what's number 3? She said, number 3, you may not kiss me until the day you lift my veil on the altar as my husband. She just wanted to know if he knew how to sacrifice because she wouldn't give away her kisses freely. And he said, okay, sign me up. And he dropped his entire old way of life only to become worthy of this one great woman who's now his bride. Now, girls, I'm not recommending you go off and date Mr. Snoop Dogg hoping you're going to be the Messiah. But the fact is, you got power. And the question that remains is, what will you do with the power? Because at the end of the day, you will never convince a boy of your dignity until you first convince yourself. And here's the proof. We're at a high school in the States, 1,400 girls, not a single teenage boy. I said, girls, the guys aren't around, so be honest with me. How many of you girls really think that to meet a guy today who's got self-control, he's a gentleman, he's pure in the way he treats girls, he's pure in the way he talks about them, even when girls aren't around, he defends their dignity. How many of you girls think finding that virtue of chastity in a man today, that makes him more attractive to you as a woman? 1,400 girls put their hands up. I said, okay. Then I went next door to the old guys' school, 1,200 boys. I told the fellas what the girls said. One guy put his hand up. He said, Jason, I don't believe you. I said, no, I promise. All the girls are their hands up. He said, no, I believe you. He said, what I'm trying to say is we don't believe them. I said, why not? And he's like, man, you're telling us that they want us to be all innocent and pure, but they're gonna dress like that at our dances? They're gonna dance like that at our dances? You're telling me she wants me to treat her like a princess, but they're gonna act like that every weekend? He's like, we don't take them seriously. They don't take themselves seriously. And I'll grant you, girls, it's often hard to find modest outfits. You go to buy some fancy prom dress, everything they sell you now is low cut, bare belly, bare back, some slit up to your armpit. I know it isn't easy, but girls aren't helpless. And girls will be like, but Jason, if you can't be sexy, how can you get a boy's attention? Can you flirt? Well, it depends. Flirting means different things. Like flirting for me. When I was like, 8 years old, if I liked the girl, you just throw a rock at her. It's like, oh, she's hot. Oh, here, watch. Like, pop. Yeah. Now she likes me. Yeah, she has a concussion. Okay, that's her problem. Now, And girls are different. Girls flirt like this. So when you girls were like 10 years old, this is how you'd flirt. And don't even act like you did. 10 years old, you'd see the cute guy. Oh, he's so cute. And you get in the huddle with your girlfriends. It's like a team effort. It's like, he's cute. What should we do? And, they all start plotting about it. And the first girl's like, I know, let's give him a note. Oh, that's brilliant. Get out the paper. Like, do you like my friend Nicole? Yes, no, maybe. It's like a survey. He's got to check the box. Then you commit. No kidding. My boy just got his first one a couple weeks ago in school, and I brought it here. And this is the real thing. Yeah, it says, to Colby from Kylie, do you like me? Answer the question and give it back. I'm like, oh, okay, girl. And so, and it's all fun and games. Then a girl gets like 11, 12 years old. Then you start getting more sophisticated flirting. You'd see the cute guy. Oh, he's cute. What should we do? Your friend's like, I know. How about when he's leaving class, I'll shove you into him. Oh, that's good. Shove me into him. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, some of you apparently still doing this, but you guys see the girls hitting each other and laughing? The reason girls think this is so funny, this is what girls talk about when they go to the toilet with like 30 of them at a time into the toilet. I mean, they've got like drawing boards in there. You shove them into this locker, I'll come around the back. They have couches in there in the bathroom sometimes. That's all. I mean, dude. I was at World Youth Day. I saw 4 girls come out of one porta potty. I'm like, that's not even sanitary, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Then what happens, girls get like what? I don't know, like 13, 14 years old. Basically, as soon as you become a woman, the world will tell you, ladies, look, now that you become a woman, you got something the boys like now. Better than those old notes and games. You've got your body. And you can give it to a guy, and he's gonna like you more. Girls always begin with this idea. Okay, as long as I'm technically not having sex with him, I'm being good. So hooking up and making out, that's not a big deal. Doing this with a guy, that's not a big deal. Doing that with him, as long as I love him, it's not a big deal. Why not? Because those other girls are worse than I am. And when it's all said and done, the girl convinces herself this priceless gift of her body, it's not a big deal. Something dies in the girl. She can go from boy to boy to boy. She never sits still. By the time she gets to college, man, she's got no clue who she is. She defined her whole identity by the boy she's clinging to. And she thinks she's in love with him when she's probably in love with the fact that he wants her when she doesn't even want herself half the time. But she is so afraid of being alone, she settles for stuff. Hooking up, giving away bits of her body and her kisses, thinking it's not a big deal. Something dies in her. I read about a guy. He's sleeping, his dog starts barking. Guy came in the backyard, and the dog is barking at a bush. And he's like, that's a bush, go to bed. He goes to sleep. 2:30, the dog starts barking. Guy came in the backyard with a stick. Come here, Pooch. Smack. And he beat the dog into submission and went back to sleep. 2:45, the dog starts freaking out. The guy threw a fit, cocked a gun, came in the backyard, apparently shot and killed the dog in the backyard, and went peacefully to sleep. And then what happened is the robber who was hiding in the bushes got out of the bushes, walked over to the body of the dead dog, came inside the guy's house, apparently killed him in his sleep, and robbed everything that he owned. And that dog is like our conscience that tells us right from wrong. And I've said to my conscience, dude, shut up. Don't tell me I should be looking at that. Don't tell me I should be doing this with her. Dude, shut up. I'd kill the voice, and I'd do it anyway, and then I'd think, I'm free. I'm not doing what my mom wants. I'm not doing what the church wants. I'm free. Then I always think afterwards, if I'm so free, how come I'm empty afterwards? If I'm so free, how come I can't look her dad in the eyes whenever I go over her house? That's my freedom, and it can lead to the point where a girl will think, Jason, you got cute stories, but you don't get it. Look, Jason, I'm not a virgin. Or Jason, I had my virginity taken from me. Or Jason, something bad happened to me when I was a little girl. And what good guy like you're all talking about, as if I know any, would even want a girl like me that's been through what I've been through? Jason, look, I'm damaged goods. It's too late, and once it's gone, it's gone. Okay, I'll tell you one girl I know about. When she was a little girl, her dad left. Her dad was an unfaithful, drug-addicted, sexually abusive, physically abusive father, and he just walked out of the family and left. He's one of these guys out there, just kind of male enough to get a girl pregnant, but not man enough to be a daddy. So she's raised with no father. She gets to high school, dude, she doesn't know how a gentleman should treat a lady. And this football player asks her out. She's thrilled. They start dating, and he says to her, honey, I've never felt this way about a girl before. I love you. And for her, those words were magic. She never heard that at home. And she said, well, I love you too. He said, if you love me, show me. She knew what that meant, so she went to her girlfriends. He wants to start doing this and that. What do you guys think? They said, you like him, right? She goes, well, yeah, I like him. Then they said, it's not a big deal. Everybody's doing it. Don't be a prude. Look, as long as you feel ready, get it over with. So she figured, yeah, it's not a big deal. At the age of 15, she lost her virginity, thinking they'd be forever in love. She said, in all actuality, she said, all respect was thrown out the window. Because she said, after a while, he didn't want to spend time with me anymore. He was basically spending the time with my body. Because when a girl's getting used, she knows it. She tries to distract herself, but she knows it. There's no peace. He lost respect for her. They started fighting more. Because whenever they're together, that's all he wanted. And she'd give him sex for the sake of feeling loved, and he'd just give her love for the sake of getting sex. Eventually, they broke up. And she said, I will never forget the day he walked away for the last time. She said, all I could think is that guy's leaving with something that never belonged to him, and now I'm never gonna get it back. I'm not a virgin anymore. What's the whole point of waiting for marriage? It's too late for me. And it started a cycle of relationships. She was about 16 years old, and the biggest stud at school asked her out, captain of the football, basketball teams. And he said, I've never felt this way about a girl before. I love you. She said, I love you too. He said, if you love me, show me. So she goes back to girlfriends. She said, now he wants to start doing it. What do you guys think? They said, look, let's set standards. Let's not sleep with our boyfriends for 6 months. If he can hold out with no sex for that long, then I know he loves me, and then we'll sleep together. And now she looks back and thinks, 6 months? 6 months is the price that I put on my body? 6 months of his time, attention, phone calls, that's love. So he held out for 6 months. They started sleeping together, and he really lost respect. Started cheating on her, abusing her, physically abusing her, emotionally abusing her. Girl, you're so fat, you're so stupid, you're so ugly. Stupid, she got straight A's in college. Fat and ugly, the girl was a kickboxer, voted the prettiest girl in the high school of 3,000 students. But he had her convinced she was fat and ugly, she was miserable. She said, those Saturday nights, all my friends would say to me, it's all fun and games. But she said, you wake up the next morning, fun and games are over. I woke up hating myself. She said, I'd sit in my bathroom, flipping over my pregnancy test, scared to death. But then I go to school that week with the biggest mask on my face. I'm so happy with my life. Put a mask on for my parents, one for church, one for the boys, one for God, one for me. She said, I was so sick of this, I don't know any way out. Her mom found out what was happening, and she said, you're going to a chastity talk. She goes, no, I'm not going to your stupid church sex thing. I've heard those before. The mom said, I don't care, you're going, and forces her. And I don't know who gave her the talk. It wasn't me, but she said, that guy got up there, and in the 1 hour I sat still, she said, my life did a 180. She said the guy was honest, blunt, and real. And he didn't judge any of us. But she said, it felt like he took my hand out of the audience and he walked through my whole life with me. He had done everything I had done, sex, smoking, drinking. But she said he had something I didn't have, and I wanted it back. He had a backbone. He had confidence. He wasn't living a double life. I wanted that peace. So after the talk, she went up to him. They talked for a long time, and she took his advice. Hey, start over. She went home to the sacrament of reconciliation, and then she wrote down a list, 60 things she dreamed of in a future husband. Why never again would she settle for less. And that weekend, the guys called her up. Hey girl, want to hook up? We're over to this guy's house. She wasn't stupid. She knew what they were after. So for the first time ever, she said no. And she stayed home a little lonely, where she wrote her first love letter to her future husband. I said no to them tonight out of love for you. I'm respecting my body tonight out of respect for you. And I can't wait for the day we're going to meet with all my hopes and prayers and dreams, and she signs it. Next weekend, they called her back. Hey girl, where you been? You trying to be too good for us? They tried to make her feel guilty for taking care of herself for once. She turned them down again, another love letter. Every time she was tempted to go back to that life, she'd read those old letters and write a new one. And she got stronger, and those stack of letters got thicker and thicker. Now, why do you think I know all this stuff about that girl? It's because she's the girl who gave me every single one of those letters on our honeymoon when I married her. This girl's my wife, my bride, the mother of my kids. I mean, and I mean, and she deserves the applause, not me, but I mean, could you imagine how grateful I am for the day she started waiting for me? What if she heard that talk in high school? What if she just blew it off? Chastity, abstinence, psh, what a joke, not for me. Do you think I ever would have met her? Do you think our marriage would exist? Do you think little baby boy that we're expecting 7 weeks from now would exist? And it was cool. When we found out that we were pregnant, like specifically her, you go to the doctor, you do a little ultrasound, see a little dude on the TV screen. First one, the baby's as tall as a grain of rice, and you can watch his heart beating. It was awesome. Most of the ultrasounds stink. You can't see anything. I'm like, is that his head? They're like, that's his butt. I'm like, oh, like his dad. But now they have high-tech ultrasounds called 4D. They can zoom in on your kid's face in color, live, 3D videos. They have videos now of kids who appear to be laughing at something in their mother's wombs. So when we found out we're expectant, we brought our little kids with us to the doctor's office. And we said, hey, little guys, if you look at that TV screen, you're going to see your baby brother, sister for the very first time. No kidding. As soon as the unborn baby's profile came into focus, his little hand reaches up and he waved at the screen. And the kids start waving back. They're like, hey! The doctor's like, I've never seen that before. I'm like, yeah, that's my kid. He's pro-life. And then we got one of my boy, Colby. He's real tiny. He's only about as tall as your cell phone from head to toe. But then we zoomed in on his little face. This is what he looked like taking a nap in my wife's womb 5 months before he was born. It's like, do you get the point? My boy lives today because of a decision his brave mom made back in high school to turn things around. And when we got married, yes, I was a virgin when we got married. And you couldn't have paid me all the money in the world to give it to anyone but my bride. Now, she was not a virgin, but she was worth waiting for, and she knew it. I would have waited for her until I was 50. She started over. And a lot of different ways I did too. And we don't want to end up divorced. So we did things that'll decrease your divorce rate. First thing, we would not live together before we get married. You know how couples are doing that all the time? You cohabit, shack up, play house, get married. How are those marriages doing? They have a higher divorce rate. So why do they do it? They say, we need to see if we're compatible with each other. Trust me, if you're a guy and she's a girl, you are not compatible. I figured that out so fast in marriage. We get back from our honeymoon, she moves all her stuff in my bathroom, in the toilet. You know what happens when a girl gets in a guy's bathroom when you get married? That's called a hostile takeover, all right? Because like, guy's toilet is perfect. I mean, what do you guys have in there? Like soap, shampoo, that's it. I mean, some guys don't even have that. And then she moves in. I counted one morning, she had 24 bottles of different things in the shower. I'm captivated. I'm reading all these things. She's got like this pumice foot polish and like kneecap remover, and she's got like this. She's got this body wash. It's like exfoliating body wash with raspberry, apricot, aloe, olive, pork chop, applesauce. I'm like, oh, what's salad dressing? And she got razor blades all over there. She had one bag. It says lemon sage body butter. And I'm like, what do you do with that? I mean, guys aren't into this. Like, how many of you guys have don't answer the question. But the point is that you're not going to be compatible in marriage, okay? And that's because girls are weird and guys are entirely normal. And that's obvious, but you're not going to be compatible. I mean, it's just kind of science. But the fact is, you're not going to be compatible. But successful marriages aren't because you just fit perfectly, but because you know how to deal with difficulties when they come up. And girls, think about it. I mean, living with the man who's not your husband, it's crazy. Because think about it. Imagine you girls go on one date with a guy and he's an absolute jerk to you. Breaking up's easy, it's one date. Okay, date a guy for 6 months and break up. Okay, that's harder. But now you sleep with him, now you move in with him, and then you realize he's not the one for you. Do you have any idea how hard it is just to let go when you've invested all of that? Girls don't want to. Girls want to stay put and fix the guy, but the relationship is done before it begins. So first thing, we didn't live together. Second thing, we didn't sleep with each other before we got married. If I had sex with Kristalina before marriage, I'd be lying to her. My body would be telling her one thing: I've given myself completely to you. I'm all yours. If I'm not her husband, the embrace of sex is a lie. This movie came out where this guy sleeps with a woman, And afterwards she says to him, don't you know when you make love to a woman, your body makes a promise to her whether you do or not. The promise of sex is I am completely yours. And if they're not married, it isn't true. And some guys will say to me, but what if it's not like that? Some cheap one-night stand and you're drunk. What if you really care about this girl? And you both talked about it and you both feel ready. How come you can't sleep with her if you really love her? Really love her? What's it mean to love her? You do what's best for her. Really? Best for her to wake up tomorrow? Am I pregnant? Is my mom gonna find out? I spoke at a high school in Texas. They had 87 girls pregnant on campus. That didn't include the junior high, brought the number of pregnancies over 100. But here's the question. How many pregnancies do you think that school would have if it were the guys who could get pregnant? Girls, wouldn't it be funny, just for 1 month of each year, if guys could get pregnant? Let's say January is now male fertility month. What would happen? Guys would be like, it is National Abstinence Awareness Month this month. I've got my pledge card. Everything would be different. Dates would be different. Imagine some big soccer athlete at school and his girlfriend, and she starts flirting about sex. He'd be like, whoa, I'm not ready for sex. Coach would kill me if I got pregnant on the soccer team next year. I can't run for touchdowns like that. That's not gonna work. I can't score a goal like that. But he'll let her take the risk any night of the week. And some guys will tell me, but I'm telling you, I really love this girl I'm sleeping with. Look, if a guy loves a girl he's sleeping with, how come if they're in bed together at her house and her dad comes home, the guy will jump out of like a 5-story window rather than face the dad? This happened to my friend John in high school. He's over at my friend Michelle's house. They're up in her bedroom messing around. They weren't even supposed to be seeing each other. Her dad supposed to be out of town at work. He came home early, saw John's car out front, whoa, boom, busted around. They hear him coming upstairs. My friend's freaking out because he's trapped. There's nowhere to go. He's like, Michelle, where can I hide? In the closet, the desk, in the microwave, where can I fit? And there's nowhere to go. He looks, Michelle's bed is like 6 inches off the ground. So he's like, honey, I'm going under there. And he dives under the bed and he wiggles under the mattress. And he's like, and the bed's like moving up and down in his chest. Dad breaks the door down, boom. Where's John? Now Michelle's smooth. She's like, John who? Yeah. Sweetheart, the bed's levitating behind you. There's a clue. So Dad comes in, looks under the bed. My friend John is on the floor in the corner, shivering like a rat under the bed. What is he doing there? If he really loves this girl, why does he know, boy? Well, you better hide from the man who loves her the most, because he knows in the depths of his heart, this has nothing to do with love and sacrifice. It's about lust and pleasure. If it were about love, do you know how proud he'd be to show the father how he loves the daughter? But as it is, he hides. Now, why is her dad like that? He's so uptight and protective because he's not naive. He knows the price she'll pay because, look, man, dude, sex is sexist. Girls always pay the biggest price. Look at this. They studied here 10,000 girls. When a girl starts having sex and what happens in her life. They found if a girl starts having sex when she's 12 years old or younger, on average, those girls will go on to sleep with about 21 different men in their lifetime. If a girl starts having sex when she's 13 or 14, she'll probably sleep with 14 different guys. And if she starts having sex at 15 and 16, she'll end up with an average of 8. And the numbers go down according to how long you wait. But the sooner the girl starts, unless she starts over, she becomes more likely to have more breakups, STDs, out-of-wedlock pregnancy, become a single mom, live under the poverty level, have a divorce, have an abortion, be depressed, on and on. The longer a girl waits for sex, the happier she's going to be. Now, this does not mean if you're not a virgin have a terrible life. All this means is how can a guy look at this and say, I love girls so much, I can do this with them? And with Crystal and I, this is not why we save sex for marriage. You think we practice chastity because of this? It's like, well, honey, I'm afraid of increasing your rates of living under the poverty level, honey. We certainly can't do that tonight. No, the reason we waited is simple. It's because I love her. And love can wait to give, but lust can't wait to get. If you're sexually active right now, or just doing any sexual stuff, if you take it out, you'll see if it's real love. We did this big public high school. There's about 1,000 secondary, about 14 years old, and about 1,000 15-year-olds. After the talk, this 17-year-old runs in the auditorium, and he's all ticked off. He's like, dude, Who told my girlfriend all about chastity? I was like, me. And he's like, man, I go, what's the matter? Turns out he's 17 years old dating a 14-year-old girl that was in the talk. He's one of these older guys who doesn't have enough social skills to date a girl his own age, so he tries to go with the young ones. But what's the deal with you girls and older guys? How many of you girls in here are 14 or 15 years old? Put your hands up. 14, 15-year-old girls. Put your hands up. Put them up high. Put them up high. How many of you girls are currently dating a 12-year-old boy? Oh, bro, you have issues. Now, how come, he's kidding. Now, how come girls laugh at that? But if a guy's older, she doesn't think twice. First reason it happens is girls mature faster than guys do. I know you girls are thinking, that's a shocker. But think about it. Look at like a 13-year-old girl. 13-year-old girls, they sit at home texting each other. I want a relationship one day where I can communicate about my feelings, my friends, and my shoes. Fine. Look at a 13-year-old boy. He's not there. He's not even close to being there. 13-year-old boys, they sit at home by themselves and they're like, like make noises in my ear, but it's fascinating. And that's fine. I still do that. But the thing is that I taught my wife how to do it. But the thing is that, dude, 13-year-old girls can get bored of 13-year-old guys. But then along comes Mr. 17, 8-year-old guy, or the college guy to the high school girl. First thing she thinks, he's older than me, he's more mature, and he likes me. This is exciting. Little does she know, all the guys know. The younger she is than you, the more easily she'll give in to your sexual desire because she's afraid of rejection. I'll bet you girls whatever you want. Most of the time what's going on right here, the girl's probably looking for the love she never got from her own dad, but she's not gonna find it in the arms of another man. From the time you girls were 2, you wanted to know, Daddy, am I beautiful? Do you love me? Do you want me? Do you notice me? Are you even gonna be here for me? Girls, look, I'm sorry. If your father is abusive or he's absent physically or emotionally, you go in the world and the question's not answered. And then older guys show up, yeah, you're beautiful. Yeah, I notice you. Yeah, I want you. Oh, feels like it's making up for this missing love. I saw one night, I'm putting my daughter Mary to bed. She's 5 years old. I'm kneeling next to her bed, just talk about her day, saying some prayers. I go to give her a hug goodnight. I want to go to hug her. She won't let go. A minute goes by, 2 minutes go by, she won't let go. I can feel her little 5-year-old heart beating on mine, her breath on my cheek. I just gave her a big squeeze and she let go. And she said, wow, Dad, that was a lot of love. I'm like, you bet, girl. Next night, I gave her another big hug. She said, Dad, your breath smells like dead frogs. I'm like can't win them all. And then the next night, I gave her another big hug. She said, Daddy, what would happen if your eyeball fell out? I'm like, what? But I saw it. That first night, her heart like this sponge, just awaiting the love of the Father to fill it up. If that heart of yours is not filled up with real love at home, it's so easy to settle for lust because at least you'll feel wanted for something. And these poor girls, they haven't heard the boy's line before. You know the number one thing he'll say to get her in bed is, look, I love you so much. And you know I would never pressure you to do anything sexual that you're not ready for. I totally respect that. We can wait until you feel ready for it. And she thinks, oh, you see, he's sweet. But if you watch it, he'll sexually take from her everything she's willing to give. He doesn't guard her innocence. He's wearing it down. Her girlfriends tell her, can't you see he's bad for you? It's like she's deaf. She's like, I know he has problems, but he smells good. I can't break up. I don't know what to do. And she stays put. But when it's real love, it will bring you closer to everyone who loves you. Family, friends, and God. When it's not real love, you get plucked away from all three. Remember that guy? Ran in the auditorium? Who told my girlfriend about chastity? I said, me, what's the matter? He said, I just saw my girlfriend in the hallway after your talk. She looked all happy, and now she won't sleep with me anymore. I want to find out what happened to her. I said, oh, you could sleep with her again one day. Marry her. He was like, oh. I said, isn't she worth waiting for? He said, no. It's the love test. You want to know if a boy loves you? Well, here's your chance to find out. Because some guys will say, girl, if you love me, if you really love me, you'd give it to me if you love me. Girl, if he loved you, he wouldn't be asking for it in the first place. And if you love him, you can't give him what he wants because you're afraid he'll just go and get it from another girl. That's not love, that's insecurity. Real love doesn't give people whatever they want. I came downstairs looking for my kids once. Hey guys, where are you? Silence. Like, come on, it's not funny. John Paul, Colby, Mary, where are you? Silence. Now, when my kids are quiet, it means they're either sleeping or doing something illegal. Those are the only options you have on the table. I know they're up no good. I'm like, Colby, I'm looking around, and I look in the kitchen, and then the freezer's open, and there's a gallon of ice cream missing from the freezer. I'm like, yeah, I know that is Colby. I'm like, Colby, I know where he is. I go in the kids' playroom. We have a big slide in there. Under the slide is a cave. I look underneath. Dude, sure enough, there he is, completely naked, eating the gallon of ice cream out of his lap. I'm like, oh, El Gordo, give it to me. He's like, oh, here comes Dad. Grab his fat little ankles. I'm dragging him on his butt on the floor. He's still scooping it in, sliding on the floor. I pull it away. Give it to me. He pulls it back. He's like, you don't love me. I'm like, I don't love you? I'm like, dude, you're lactose intolerant. I'm like, boy, you be on the toilet for a week if I let you eat that much, man. Of course I love you. And because I love you, you can't have what feels good. It's just not good for you. It's the same principle behind abstinence, love. Why do you think I waited 27 years for my wife? Love. You think we waited because we're afraid of something? No, perfect love casts out fear. It's not about following rules so you don't go to hell. It's wanting heaven for the person that you love. And so that's the second thing we did. We saved it for marriage. Third thing for a solid marriage. One of the beauties of self-control, you don't have to worry about birth control. Even in marriage, no way on earth would I put my wife's body on that junk. How disrespectful. What's her fertility, like some kind of disease? We got to give her pills or drugs to make her sexually available? I mean, that's messed up. Girls today are not told the truth about birth control. Doctors never say, oh, sweetie, here's your birth control pills. Oop, yeah, we forgot to tell you, the birth control pill will increase your risk of developing breast cancer. Some doctors like the pill and breast cancer, that's not true. Oh, not true? Well, you know who thinks it is true? The World Health Organization, the United Nations, Mayo Clinic, companies that make birth control pills openly admit it's true. But they don't tell girls that. They say, look, if you don't want the birth control pill, we can give you the birth control shot. Oh, the birth control shot? The company that makes that has been sued for more than $700 million because it thins out the girl's bones. You know who's not giving away the shot anymore? Veterinarians. They refuse to give it to dogs. They said that is not safe enough for our house pets. But they'll give it to women for birth control? They say, look, if you don't want the pill or we can give you the patch, we can give you the implant. Dude, read the side effects on this stuff. This one for girls says, ladies on Implanon, call your doctor right away. If you start coughing up blood, you go completely blind or unconscious. It's like, what? It's like, how's she supposed to make the phone calls? Like, has anyone seen my cell phone around here? I mean, dude, coughing up blood? I mean, come on, what was so wrong with her fertility to begin with? Your fertility is a gift. It's not some kind of disease. And people say, oh, I know, but there's all those STDs out there, man. You got to practice safe sex, protect yourself, be responsible. Oh, come on, man. Safe sex is not safe. I mean, what do you think is the most common sexually transmitted disease? AIDS, syphilis. Nobody ever gets this right. They're like, AIDS, chlamydia, syphilis, herpes. There's always some guy in the corner, he's like, crabs. And I go, no, it's not crabs, stay away. But what is it? It's not AIDS. The number one STD has killed more women than AIDS has because it can cause cervical cancer. It's something called HPV, human papilloma virus. And this thing is getting so widespread. I mean, just in the United States, college girls, 45% of them are currently infected with HPV. Every other college girl in America. The reason it's spreading like this is because safe sex does not stop it. It's spread from mid-thigh to mid-abdomen contact. Any skin-to-skin sexual contact can transmit this virus. Now, I hate discussing all the STD stuff, but the fact is, safe sex is not safe. I hate discussing all the STD junk. If you've been sexually active, go get tested. But if after you hear all this stuff, it's like, well, where do we go from here? Guys, girls, take off. Maybe go to the shopping mall tomorrow, buy a white candle. Let your husband light that on your wedding night as a sign of the purity that you've maintained from this day and to the day he lifts your veil. On our honeymoon, my wife and I went not too far away in Tahiti to Bora Bora. We had an overwater bungalow, which means your hotel room is over the ocean, but you have a glass floor underneath, so you can see the fish and the sharks. And at midnight, she said, Jason, I have a present for you. I'm like, give me it. And then I opened the box, and in it was a heart-shaped white candle with an untouched wick. as a sign of the purity that she's been guarding for love of me before she met me. So girls, from this point on, don't you dare be afraid that some guy is gonna leave you if you don't give him something sexual. Girls, you turn that around, you let the boy be afraid. He's the one who's gonna lose you unless he knows how to respect you. But girls will say to me, but Jason, here's the problem. There's no good guys anymore, Jason. Jason, guys are pigs, they're dogs, they're animals, they're giraffes, they're antelope. They're just no good guys anymore. And girls are always telling me this. 3 girls came up to me once and they said, Jason, guys are jerks. I said, no, there's lots of good guys. And they're like, guys are jerks. And I'm like, whoa, issues. I'm like, I asked the first girl, I said, look, are you dating anyone? She's like, kinda, it's complicated. I'm like, well, tell me about him. We talked for an hour and a half. She finally admitted, okay, he is a drug dealer, he swears a lot, drinks a lot, he's cheated on her, and her parents hate him. But I couldn't figure out why. Parents are so unfair. And then next girl jumps in, she said, Jason, all guys are jerks. I said, no, there's so many good gentlemen. I meet them all the time. She said, they're all jerks. She said, we were at a party 3 weeks ago. These guys came up behind a girl and they poured a beer on her head because she was a girl. 2 weeks ago, we were at the same party and they poured a beer on another girl's head. Last weekend, we were at the same party, they poured a beer on another girl's head. See, guys are jerks. I'm like, yeah, what are you doing this weekend? They're like, we're going to the party. I'm like, yeah, I wonder where your problem's coming from. That's why I beg the girls to set the standard high. Because if you have to lower your morals to find love, it's not love you're finding. And some girls are afraid to hope. Because some girls think, well, Jason, what's the whole point? Even if there are good guys, why would a good guy want a girl like me? Jason, if any guy ever found out about my past and what's happened to me, he wouldn't want me. He'd want to run away from me. Girls, you just got to trust me on this one. If any guy ever judges you by your past, he's not that good of a guy. You hold out for the man who can see you for who you are today and your future instead of holding your past over your head. You can start over, anybody can. But what you need to do is have a backbone. What does that look like? Perfect example. This magazine came out a couple months ago with this cover story, why high school students are sending sexual pictures to each other over their phones. I got the article to look for statistics. Most of it was pretty depressing, except for one high school girl. And here's what happens. This guy sends her a sexual text message. He wants her to send him some revealing photograph of herself. And so he texts her, and he's like, hey, why don't you send me a picture of yourself? And she's like, ooh, okay, here you go. Click. And took a selfie of her face and sent him that. He got it. He was disappointed, and so he texts her back. He's like, hey, I didn't mean a picture of your face. And she's like, ooh, okay, here you go. Click, took a selfie of her foot and sent him that picture instead. God bless that girl, man. That's the girl who's gonna find real love, because her standards will intimidate the men who have no standards of their own. So you know what, girls? If any guy ever asks you to send him a revealing photograph of yourself, you know what? I give you permission to send him a picture of your completely bare hand waving goodbye to him, because that's as much flesh as he deserves to see. And so, if you want love, you gotta have a backbone. So, but girls, help each other with this. Girls, you gotta quit the gossip. Oh, you see that girl? She is such a slut because she did that, and she's a hoe because I heard she did that. I saw it on Twitter, so I know it's true because it was retweeted, so sources are verified. Like, no. Sluts don't exist. I meet 100,000 students a year. I've never met a slut. And you may be thinking, well, then you haven't met this girl yet. Okay, well, perhaps. But I'll bet you I know that girl better than you do. I mean, sometimes we judge, but like, you don't know what happened to her 2 months ago. You don't know what happened to her when she's 7 years old. You have no idea. Take the labels off and give each other the freedom to start over. Guys, where do you go from here? I think guys can have different reactions to a chastity talk. First reaction is you hear the talk and you walk out of here, and what's the first thing you look at? Typically, the first thing guys look at is the other guys. What'd you guys think? I don't know. What'd you guys think? I don't know. What did you guys think? Because look, girls, we want to impress you, but at this time in life, we're more interested in impressing the other guys. Because until a man knows he's a man, he's always trying to prove he is one. If I think degrading a girl makes me more of a man, I'll do it to score points with the boys because I'm insecure. What's needed though with chastity is authenticity. You can't be one guy on Saturday night, a different guy Sunday morning in church. You can't be one guy in front of a girl's parents, and when their backs are turned, you become somebody else. It demands you have no duplicity. In New York, 3 basketball players came up to me, and I love basketball. We started talking. They're sleeping with all these girls. And I said to him, how do you want some guy to treat your daughter one day? He said, oh, we ain't having daughters, we're just having sons. I'm like, oh, why don't you want a daughter? And he was honest. He said, I know what I'm doing to girls. He said, I'd kill a guy if he ever did that to my princess behind my back. So this is a solution to use the girls but don't have a daughter? No, what's needed is authenticity. I saw it at a school. They had the best basketball team in the country. After the talk, the star of the team came up to me. This guy's like 11 feet tall, and he walks up, and he's like, hey, can we talk in the back? I'm like, yes, come with me. And I took his hand, and we went back here. And I was like, well, what's going on over there? He said, look, be honest with you. He said, I've been with so many girls. I've done so much stuff. He's like, I knew every time I was killing her. Dude, she wanted it. I wanted it. Half the time I was drunk, I just blamed it on the beer. He said, nowadays, he said, girls around here, he said, they're more aggressive than the guys half the time. You should see the nasty text messages they're sending. He said, but after your talk today, it's different. He said, I want to be faithful to my wife before I meet her. He said, I don't want to get married with all these memories of girls I'm never going to see again when I graduate, but how do you start over when you've been where I've been? He said, when you're with the girl, she says she's ready for sex. How do you say no to that? I said, look, if she thinks she's ready for sex and she is not ready to be a mother, she's got no clue what she's talking about. One 12-year-old boy came up to me. He said, Jason, my girlfriend and I have talked and we're ready. I'm like, he's 12. I'm like, ready? I'm like, are you ready to be a father? He said, no, just for sex. So after explaining to him the shocking connection they just discovered between the two, I said, look, you know I'm married, I got a couple little kids. I go, you know what you don't know about me? Our first baby has had so many medical problems. He's had to be in all these different hospitals. I go, do you know the first 2 years of being a new dad, I spent about $50,000 in medical bills on him so I could have the top doctors on earth taking care of my sick boy. And you got what it takes to be a good father? You ready for sex? He opens up his wallet, showed me his money. He's like, I have $5. I'm like, buy her a pizza. I mean, if you love her, you'll prove it. And I'm not gonna lie, it isn't easy, but can we just be honest as guys? We cause 90% of our own temptations by what we look at and who we hang out with, and then we complain it's difficult to be pure. You want to make it easy? Find good friends. Not only good friends, but friends who are good. Campus ministry, youth group, life team, get involved. And to make it easy, only date a girl unless you can really see yourself marrying her. That's the whole point of dating to begin with. But in the end, purity is a gift from God. If you really want it, He'll give it to you. If you want purity, go get it. Go to confession. Some people are like, I'm not going to confession. What if I tell the priest what I did? It's like, that's the point. I mean, do you think you like broke this unknown 11th commandment that's never been known? I mean, you're not that original. I mean, what do you think he's going to call the Vatican afterwards? I've never heard of this before, Pope Francis. I mean, Pope Francis wouldn't care. He'd be like, no hablo inglés, click. So just go. You feel so much better afterwards. And what's beautiful is the sacrament is available tonight. And so go to confession. Second thing, never leave the Mass. My wife and I go to Mass every day. Every grace I need to love her, I get from the Blessed Sacrament. You never leave the Mass. Third thing that was huge for me was devotion to Our Lady, the Rosary. Because for me, I mean, you look at porn, man, it takes like 5 minutes to look at porn, and then honestly, it feels like it takes 15 years to forget what you saw. And so for me, it was devotion to Our Lady that taught me how to look at girls again. And when those flashbacks of porn would come back to my mind, I learned that, you know what? To battle my temptation, I could actually stop and start praying for that person that's coming to my imagination to transform temptation into intercession. So get a rosary, keep it in your pocket, pray it every day. If you can't pray a rosary every day, fine, man. Just pray a Hail Mary every day. You can't do that? Fine, just say the name of Mary as a prayer, and she'll come through for you. Get a rosary. Get a miraculous medal if you can get one. Mother Teresa called these things spiritual bullets. And to help you live out these things, we've brought stuff for you. There's books that are available in the back. Pure Manhood is a book that I wrote for the guys, a little booklet. And then my wife wrote one for you girls called Pure Womanhood. In the middle of my wife's book, She has written for you girls a dump him list, okay? It's like 16 things. If a guy has any of them, you just say goodbye, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you. So that's all in there. And then we also have these little postcards. I think we still have some of these. And on the back are all of the talks that we do, and you can download them for free at that website. And then also on the other side of it, it has all of our social media. My website is the top one, chastityproject.com. Under that is my wife's website, Women Made New, just for girls. And then we have our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And I thought it'd be fun because right before this talk, the best gift I have for you is this. I sent a post on our Facebook and Twitter that went out to about 150,000 people. And I said, hey, everybody, I got here in Singapore, and I'm about to speak to about 7,000 people today in 4 talks. Please pray for them. And I put that on social media, and I checked the post afterwards, and in some place people are like, oh, hey, we're praying for you in Argentina, we offered Mass for you in Kenya. All these prayers are descending on you. And all I'd ask in return is if you'd please pray for the people that we speak to. And I thought it would be fun, too, to take a selfie with all of you and then put it on social media to thank all the people that are praying for us. So you want to take a selfie together here real quick? So I want to take a quick one, and then we're going to put this online. Okay, so everybody smile. So, all right, there you go. There you go. All right, so I'm going to put that on social media so you pray for them. So, but what I ask from you, please pray for all of the students I speak to. I head home tomorrow morning, and then in 2 weeks I speak at high schools in North Dakota. Please pray for them. Why? Because I could speak to your future husband or wife. They might be here today. You never know what lifestyle they're in. That's why I beg your prayers. I know one girl, 15 years old, woke up one night. She said, I need to pray for my future husband. Then she prayed for him and went to bed. Years later, they met and got married. She said, honey, I prayed for you when I was 15. And he's like, oh, thanks. And she says, look, there it is in my diary. I prayed for you. He said, I used to have a journal back then. Let me see what I was doing for fun. Finds his journal, dusts it off. He said, that's the year I was in the war, because he was a veteran. She said, what does it say that night? He said, honey, the night you prayed for me was the night the enemy troops came across our lines. They slaughtered almost every man in my platoon, and they spared me. So, thanks for your prayers. Prayers are good. Prayers are good. That's why I beg your prayers. And I know I've said a lot to you about future husband, future wife. Some of you are being called to a higher vocation, to priesthood, to be the religious life. Don't be afraid of these vocations. I know tonight I've said a lot to you also about boyfriend, girlfriend. Most of you right now do not have a boyfriend. Most of you do not have a girlfriend. Good. Good for you. Don't be like me. I started dating when I was like 12 years old. One girl back then even broke up with me because I forgot that I was dating her. I was like, oh, high maintenance. How much could you ask for? But you're under this pressure. You don't have a boyfriend? You don't have a girlfriend? You've never kissed anyone before? What's wrong with you? You're 8 years old. What are you waiting for? And you know I'm not exaggerating. I mean, this 12-year-old came up and he said, Jason, I got a relationship problem. Can you help? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He's like, here's the situation. He said, I dated a girl for 3 years, is really serious, and then I took a year off, and now I like a girl she's friends with. I don't know what to do. I'm like, wait a minute. This guy's 12, and he just took a year off a 3-year relationship, meaning the guy was 8 years old in a serious relationship. I'm like, what are you doing on dates together? Watching like Blue's Clues or something? Like, what do you fight about? I want Dora. I want Diego. It's like you have time, okay? I mean, my high school was 1,000 students. Today I'm friends with, 2 of them? My wife's high school was like 3,000 students. Today she knows none of them. Your life is going to go so far beyond the walls of your school. That's why one girl told me, she said, Jason, you're right. You don't go to high school looking for a husband. She said, you go to high school to find your bridesmaids. I said, girl, you get the point to take your time. Because if a girl doesn't take her time, you know what happens. She meets a cute guy. They start flirting. They start texting, hanging out, hooking up, and making out. Man, 3 weeks of making out with this guy, she's like emotionally married to him. She's like stalking him on social media. She's like picking out her wedding dress on the internet. She's only known the guy for 3 weeks. 4 weeks into it, it hits her hard. Boom. And she's like, ooh, I didn't know he flirts with other girls. I didn't know he drinks. I didn't know he builds a methamphetamine lab in his closet with his friends on Wednesdays. I didn't know that. It's like, sweetheart, that's the point. take your time, find yourself, and love will find you. Now, last thing is this. If I only had one thing to say to you, this would be it. And for those young adults who were in the talk last, you heard this story, but I want to repeat it for those who weren't here, that all you need to know if you feel far from God is how he looks at you for doing that stuff. And this is how he sees you. Dad, a few years ago, dropped his son off at preschool. And he said, I love you, I'll pick you up after school, promise come get you. Kissed his boy, went to work. Huge earthquake struck Armenia. And the dad shoots the car back, but it's too late. School's collapsed, faculty's dead. Dad shows up, and he said, I know my son's in that school. Starts tearing off the rocks and the glass. And he dug for an hour and 12 hours. His knuckles were bleeding open. His back was cramped up. He dug for 10 hours. And people told him, you got to give up. You just accept it. They're gone. He dug for 20 hours, 30 hours. His back was cramped up. And people told him to give up, but he kept digging. He said, all I could think of was the promise I always made to my son. No matter what happens, you know I'm always going to be there for you. 38 hours later, he lifts up a board, and under that's the face of his son. And he looked down upon his son, and his son looked up to him and said, Papa. And his son turned to 14 kids trapped alive with him, and he said, see, told you my daddy was coming to get me. I told you he promised. This is the love of God the Father. It doesn't matter what has happened or where you've been. He's always there to welcome you home. Now, what's beautiful about tonight is you don't have to go to confession. Confession has come to you tonight. More than about 20 priests are making themselves available this evening for the sacrament of reconciliation during our time of prayer that we have coming up. And if you feel kind of nervous, well, I don't know if I should go to confession, I would encourage you, bug the person next to you and say, hey, you want to get in line for confession with me? Because if you bring a soul to the sacrament of reconciliation, you will receive eternal reward in heaven for the graces that that person receives through that sacrament. I don't care if you've been away from the sacrament for 30 years. Tonight's the night. Because if you come here tonight and all you get is some motivational speech and some great music and you go home, good luck with that. It's not enough. Tonight, we're going to have an encounter with the living God himself. We're going to take time right now for Eucharistic Adoration. And if you haven't done this before, what's going to happen is the priest is going to bring out a gold display called a monstrance, coming from a Latin word meaning to show. In the monstrance is the host from Mass. We believe as Catholics that little thing that looks like just a piece of bread, we believe that is the very body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. This is kind of difficult to believe. People have struggled to understand this. Do you know a priest once was struggling to believe this? About 1,200 years ago in Italy, he held up the Eucharist during Mass, and he said the words of consecration. This is my body, this is the chalice of my blood. And when he prayed those words, in his heart, he said, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief that this is you. And when he prayed those words, the host changed to human flesh. The wine changed to human blood. Everybody saw this miracle, and they kept it there at the church. Anybody could come and see it. And in the 1970s, they opened it up for scientific investigation. And atheists came. World Health Organization studied this. And they said, okay, we'll scientifically look at your little superstitious Catholic miracle, and we'll tell you what this really is. And so they examined the host. They said, okay, we'll tell you what this bread really is. And they examined this, and they said, okay, here's what we found out. They said, your host from your Mass of this Eucharistic miracle isn't bread. They said, this is human. They said, this is human heart tissue. They said, the blood you have is the same genetic type as the heart tissue. So these samples came from the same individual. They said, the blood here is type AB blood, the universal recipient. They said, that's very strange because very few people have that blood type in this part of Italy. But they said it is a very common blood type amongst men who live in the Middle East. They said this blood type also matches the blood type found on the Shroud of Turin, believed to be the burial cloth of Christ. But they said the most fascinating thing about this blood is they said in human blood are proportions of proteins, that when you die, those proportions of proteins change. They said the blood you have is coagulated, it's dried up and it's ancient, but the proportions of proteins are the exact same of living human blood. They said what you have here is ancient living blood. from a man who is from the Middle East, whose blood type matches the burial cloth of Christ and matches the human heart tissue that priest received in his hands during Mass 1,200 years ago. And one of the scientists who had been atheists wrote in the report, "The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and he entered the Catholic Church because of this Eucharistic miracle." And the greater miracle than this is that this happens every day in the hands of every priest around the world. And so the question is not, is Jesus present in Mass? He is. We need to become present, because the end of his life, he didn't just leave us a symbol of his absence. In his absence, he left us his very presence. And so tonight, we're going to take a time of Eucharistic adoration, of prayer. Because like I said, if tonight is just a motivational speech and you don't encounter the living God, this lifestyle is not possible. But if you can connect with Christ through the sacraments, then with him, all things are possible. And so our band now is going to lead us in some music. And they're going to begin with a song. And once that song is over, the priest is going to process with the Blessed Sacrament. And then we're going to lead you in a time of prayer and recollection. And it's going to last about a half hour. And then we're going to have a time of praise and worship to wrap things up. And so I would invite you to begin now, not with applause, but with a spirit of prayerfulness as we enter into the time of prayer together.